And the problem of I don't know how to start it goes away. While I'm writing a novel, I constantly go back to the first chapter. Sometimes every time that I go back to the novel, I could be in the middle or near the end, and I go back to that first chapter. That's my touchstone. That should be a writer's touchstone. That's how you opened this compelling story to the world. So it's the first thing that readers will see. In some ways, it's the most impressionable they will be because they're just getting introduced to the work you're trying to tell them, the story you're trying to lay out for them. I can't think of a more important chapter than the first chapter. In some ways, it's more important than the last chapter of a book because this is the only shot you have to get it right for the first time. So I constantly go back to that chapter. One, I want to have it pristine and perfect in every way, but also because I need to make sure that every element in that chapter is there for a reason because all the threads coming out from this first chapter permeate the rest of the novel. So if I got something wrong here, I've got something wrong here. That's why I constantly go back to that. But just as clearly, the girl had someone after her, and Roby now knew that he was not the only professional killer on board this bus tonight. He was looking right now at the second one. He slipped the Glock from his pocket. The girl was reading. Roby couldn't see what, but it was a paperback. She was intent on this, oblivious to all other things. That was not good. Young people made easy targets for predators. Young people were glued to their phone screens, thumbs ramming keys, firing off messages of importance like Facebook status, the color of their underwear that day, girl problems, hair problems, sports stats, where the next party was. They also always had earbuds on. With the music roaring, they could hear nothing until the lion struck. Then it was too late. Easy prey, and they didn't even know it. One, I want to have it pristine and perfect in every way, but also because I need to make sure that every element in that chapter is there for a reason because all the threads coming out from this first chapter permeate the rest of the novel. So if I got something wrong here, I've got something wrong here. That's why I constantly go back to that. That's like the mothership. You know, if you don't go back to the mothership constantly, then you don't know what the rest of the fleet is really doing, and if you don't, it's actually going to make sense at the end. So that should be your touchstone, and it always is for me. I always like to come up with, I call it the big pop, and the big pop is, how is the novel going to open? You know, because if you don't get that right, it doesn't matter what else you write after that because nobody's going to bother to finish reading it. So the big pop is really important. So I need to understand intimately how that scene is going to unfold and how it's going to drive the rest of the story. And the thriller genre is such that there's this sense of momentum and this sense of hurry up because we got to get to something monumental. The short chapters are like punches, rapid punches in the face. It doesn't have to be all about action and somebody getting killed or bombs going off. It could just be conveying information. But it's like that. It's like that rapidity of motion where people get into this rhythm of, okay, you know, I understand this is really rocking and rolling and there's short bursts of stuff. I've got to pay attention. I'm on for this ride. I don't have to drift through 15 or 20 pages of stuff. And you have to be really disciplined in order to construct a novel that way because, again, this even heightens the importance of each chapter. Ask yourself, why am I writing this chapter 12? Just because it follows chapter 11 and it's the one before chapter 13? Is it a bridge to something? Are you driving the plot forward? Are you conveying information? Are you deepening a character in some way? And I'm not saying those are the only three you could have, but those are three pretty important and critical and ubiquitous purposes in a novel. So always ask yourself, what is the reason I'm writing this chapter right now in front of me? What is the purpose? What am I trying to convey? If you can't answer one of those three questions in a positive way, convey information, character development, or moving the plot forward, then don't write the chapter. There was a book I wrote called The Escape, where this guy that I needed to get out of that prison, it's USDB, United States Disciplinary Barracks at Leavenworth. It's escape-proof. Nobody's ever escaped from it. You just can't escape from it. My job was, in the opening chapters, I needed him to escape from this prison. I got the big pop. It's almost like a little self-encapsulated short story. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write those first few chapters. And then all of a sudden you're over that hump of, oh my God, how do I do this? Because when you write those first few chapters, all of a sudden you open up all these possibilities for all these other plot threads. I've got this stuff here. He's escaped from the prison. Who helped him? Who didn't help him? Why did he get out? What's he going to do now? And all of a sudden, there's all this stuff you can write about. And the problem of, I don't know how to start it, goes away. But when you've got a chapter that's 2, 3, 4 pages long, you have to hit your mark with every word. There's no room to fudge. There's no room for weaknesses. You have to get there and get out. When I'm going through and looking at the pacing of a novel or story that I've written, and I look within the content of a chapter, let's say a sample chapter, I look at the diversity of how I'm telling a story depending on the tools that I have. And Roby's way to take this guy out, but also Roby's instinct. This gives you a look right into the man's head at how he notices things that other people don't notice. So there's 6 bullet points that I had in my outline translated to about 2 pages that I just read to you. Some of the bullet points were dead on, and I included them in the section that I just read. Others are one that I was thinking about while I was writing it. So there's always going to be more to it. There's not every bullet point is going to be in there, but there's also always going to be additional information that I did not have lifted in the outline. That's the organic part of growing this. That's the organic part of being in the middle of a scene, the middle of a chapter. You're always going to add something to it, because when you're in the moment, things just fly. Your inspiration, creativity is really rocking and rolling, and you're going to add some additional things that's going to make it stronger. You'll see that to be the case. When you write a screenplay, and I've written screenplays before, directors will challenge you, and the producers will read this stuff, and they'll sit across from you and go, why is that scene in there? Why is this person driving the narrative? Why is that person saying this? How are you going to get out of that scene? What's the second purpose why this scene is in there? Because the scene is costing a lot of money for us to shoot. So there can't just be one reason for the scene. It's got to be more than that. What is So many times I've had writers come up to me at book events and book signings. I have a book that I want to write, I just can't get started. And the reason they can't get started is they're trying to figure out everything that's going to be in this 140,000 word, 500-page novel before they sit down to write it, and they're totally overwhelmed by it. They just can't do it, and their fingers hover over the keys. Their hand is shaking with the pen, so they never write the first page.